Welcome back to our deep dive series in the Think a Better Thought, Training Your Mind for Success 101. Today, we're going to go deep into chapter 11, The Ultimate Enemy. In this chapter, the ultimate enemy is resentment. Okay, so it's all about recognizing that we have resentments that we carry with us and getting rid of those. Recognizing how powerful they are, how negatively powerful they are, some ways to get rid of them. Okay. The man who complains about the way the ball bounces is likely to be the one who dropped it. Lou Holtz. Pretty good quote. No? I think it's very easy to place blame on other people, places, or things. I became very, very good at it and can still be very good at it if I let myself go. And I still do because I'm human, and it's painful because I know not to. One day, hopefully, I'll have a really long stretch where I don't. I've had a lot of things happen to me. All right, I've been sexually abused. I've been fired. Been made fun of. I mean, my last name's boring. My middle name's Duke. People used to call me Dookie. So I've had plenty of stuff that I could get pissed off about. Right? There's all kinds of things that I've messed up on that are my fault, and I can be mad at myself. But pointing the finger at somebody else, really enjoyed doing that for a long time. What I learned through doing all these exercises and a lot of other work is that my ultimate enemy, and I think it's all of our ultimate enemies really, is resentment. It is the ultimate enemy and must be destroyed. Now, you're probably hearing this going, I don't have any resentments. You may be right. Okay. But before we shut the door on that, let me ask if you have any SOBs in your life. You know, them some bitches. No, I don't have any of those either. Well, let me offer some examples. Let's say you work with some people and they like to leave their coffee cups in the sink for everyone else to clean up. They don't pick up after themselves. You get pissed off about it every once in a while. That could be an SOB. Or you got a decent commute to work every day with some pretty heavy traffic. That bad driver every morning could be an SOB. You really don't like paying your taxes. It's very frustrating. You don't see the value in it. You don't even know what you're getting out of it. You're looking at all this money going to other places besides you. The government, your taxes, the IRS could be an SOB in your life. Okay? Point is to identify something, someone, somewhere, sometime. It could be 2020 and COVID, right? Could be an SOB in your life, that whole shutdown. But find something that you can say, you know what? Yeah, okay, I do. Even if it's mild, I've got a resentment there. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do, after you pick this one thing, is I'd like you to first recall when the experience happened that created this resentment, whether it's person, place, or thing. How long ago was it? Now, once you remember that, while you're thinking of that, I'm going to get me a little sip of water here. Should drink out of copper. Always purifies the water. All right, with this event caused your resentment. You ready? Are you experiencing that right now? Is it happening to you right now? Or are you choosing to relive it with your resentment over and over and over and over again. That event is in the past, isn't it? Gone. You will never change it. It happened. It's over. Cannot go back. You can change your grip. You can let go of the resentment. You can't change the event. I want to suggest, this is in bold, we replace resentment with gratitude. You know? By transforming and transmuting the energy behind the things you hate, you can remove their power over you. You can surrender to them. You can learn from them. You can start to make them work with you instead of against you. So when you think of a past pain, ask yourself, did blaming someone or something else help me in the end? Or did it actually cause more pain? Why did you blame? Observe your answers with no judgment. I'm going to let my dog out of the room here. Otherwise, he's going to create a resentment. I'm going to be proactive. Go on. All right, so I'll tell you a little story. In 2008, I've talked about having an advertising agency, and we started that in 2005 and had some, we always had what we needed to keep going. Then we started growing, and then we had a competitor come to us and basically ask us to buy him out. And I jumped right in. I said, this is going to be great. This will solve all our problems. We got staff now. We got bigger accounts. Woohoo, right? Well, I didn't really do any due diligence. I did zero, actually. I just felt like it'd be okay. And as we trekked along in our new relationship, there were things that I wanted to do different that they'd been doing for a while. And the guy I was buying it from, he didn't want to do things different. And I was like, well, why am I buying it if we're going to do things different? So we've started butting heads. In nearly a year to the day, we ended the relationship and demerged, unmerged, split, whatever you want to call it. But it cost me $30,000 to do that. And I didn't have $30,000 to do that. I had to get a loan from my grandmother, but he was insistent that I owed him 30 grand. I never bought in or anything. So, but I wanted out, paid it, and man, that 30 grand, I was hot. I was resentful over it. All the way through when he died in 2016. Like, man, no way, I'm not going to the funeral. Who cares? Got what he deserves, What's going on in his head? Spent a lot of time and effort fretting over this person. But what I came to realize later on, after I started doing this work every day, remember, it's uncommon persistence that's going to get you here. Uncommon repetition. Repetition is the mother and mastery of doing it, asking yourself, checking in. By doing that work, I was able to realize that the bad I see in other people, I'm carrying it as well. I've got it programmed in me somewhere. I can't see it unless I already have it. So I would suggest you can't see it unless you already have it. That's when I started asking myself, what good is it doing me to hold on to this resentment? Ask yourself that right now, whatever your resentment is. What good is it doing you to hold on to that? How is this resentment helping me get what I want? Basic stuff. Is this resentment helping me or hurting me? The observation time really was minimal because the observation, as the question was coming out, was like, no, there's no benefit. There's no benefit. None. Felt lighter immediately, you know. The solution was transferring the resentment to gratitude. And it was uncomfortable at first. It was uncomfortable. Okay. So I'm not telling you that any of this stuff is easy. It's not. If it was easy, you'd all be levitating right now, you know? But no, conscious thinking, it's the hardest work in the world. What I did was I asked myself one simple question. How can I be grateful for this resentment? Or sorry, how can I be grateful for this relationship instead of this resentment? How can I be grateful for this relationship instead of resentment? How can I be grateful for this relationship instead of resentful? I had to ask that question a lot. And it took a while. But they started to pop in, these thoughts. I'm like, well, you know what? I did learn how to staff an advertising agency. I learned about part of the advertising agency I previously had zero experience in. My clients thought enough of me to go into the merger and stay with me out of the merger. So that was fun. Now, I wasn't flooded with positive aspirations for this person when asked the question, how can I be grateful for this relationship instead of resentful? But I was given enough to shift my attitude about him to gratitude instead of resentment. And I haven't even thought about it until today as I'm going through this with you. And I barely, I mean, I wouldn't even remember it if it wasn't for this or just going through the history of my company every once in a while. How powerful that question was in letting it go. Bold text here, pay attention. Our egos fuel the practice of blaming others. Our egos fuel the practice of blaming others. When we point blame away from ourselves, we remove that sense of empowered agency that gives us the opportunity for growth. We shortchange ourselves from the opportunity to evolve. All right, let me ask you, how many emotional crutches are you propping yourself up with today? Is it easy for you to point the finger at someone or something else for your problems? Is that a reactionary trend that you have going on in your life, is placing blame everywhere else? It's going to start to get tricky here, okay? Be patient with yourself. You need to be alert for your ego working against you. You're about to do some massive change. Start by thinking about times when you blamed other people for something in your life. Then ask yourself if you still hold a resentment for this experience. Or can you find gratitude with it? Can you find a lesson? Can you find a positive benefit from it? It helps to write them down. You got room in the book here. All right, lots of pages to write stuff down. Eventually, you're going to have to write them all down. You're going to have to dig deep. You're going to have to find all of them. Even the ones that have that real long-lasting sting will still hurt. Tough part ahead is going to be mastering your ability and being honest with yourself related to your feelings. Your ego can easily use your past to manipulate you into thinking that you're justified in blaming someone or something else for whatever's going on. Okay? It's going to happen. And you will be blaming people at some point again, even if you try hard as hell today not to. We're not perfect. We're not striving for that. We're striving for progress. If you don't get there right away, don't give up. You have to, this is crucial. We're here. We're at the turning point. We're right in the middle, right? We have to eliminate this. We have to win this fight against this enemy. Holds no value for us. Find a way to be grateful for all your experiences and set yourself free. All right, that pretty much hits our chapter summary. We're going to go ahead and get in our training exercise. Remember, training exercise, chapter summaries. If you don't own the book, you don't have money, you can get it for free right now. It does cost you an email address, and I've never sent an email. I may one day, but in the 3 or 4 years this book's been published, I have not sent one. All right, training exercise for the day. How can you take a look at an experience in the past, one that you've been harboring? Look at it from a different angle where you quit giving ownership to people who've done things to you and instead claim your power back by allowing yourself to know you are strong enough to take responsibility and now choose to let it go. When you notice your resentments, ask yourself, why am I thinking about this resentment? What is this resentment really about? How does this resentment help me? Does this resentment hurt me? Is there any benefit to having this resentment? How can I replace this resentment with gratitude? Okay, remember, the secret to all this is not having judgment for yourself in the observation and answering of these questions. No judgment, just observe, okay? Judgment, that creates an effect. Judge, effect, what's the effect of a judgment? A sentence. Don't sentence yourself. The true purpose here is to get to where we're completely free. So we go deeper. I'm just going to read this. I've wasted many hours of my life carrying resentment. There's been one person in particular who has stood at the front of my resentment line. This person has carefully disguised their identity and my resentment of them for many years. Only when I accepted that my best thinking had given me the exact life I was experiencing did I learn the true identity of who I had been resenting, even hating for much of my life. Who was it? You want to guess? It was me. I'd been my most cunning enemy. I'd secretly been trying to self-sabotage myself nearly every step of the way. This is completely crazy thinking. Why would I ever do that to myself? Self-sabotage. Did resenting myself have any benefit for me? No. When I asked myself this question and truly observed it, the resentment vanished. It dissolved, it vaporized into thin air, gone. I've learned through observing others that I'm not alone in resenting myself. Most people have a veiled disgust with themselves. Why do we waste so much time being angry and resentful at ourselves? Who could possibly come up with such an argument that it would ever be correct to be extremely resentful or internally resentful? The only explanation is our egos. Our egos rage, fearful of change. Our egos bring up every failure, embarrassment, and disappointment against us. Our egos try to convince us that there is something wrong with us, something that is no good. Is this the truth? Absolutely not. It's not the truth. It's the furthest from the truth that can be. If you feel like you will not be able to gain freedom from resenting yourself, have no fear. You can and will if you do the work. Ask yourself if you have an internal resentment. You may need to ask yourself this question several times before you realize an answer. If you have any doubt at all, continue to ask the question. If you do discover you have a resentment with yourself, continue with these questions and only observe. Why am I thinking of this resentment? What is this resentment really about? How does this resentment help me? Does this resentment hurt me? Is there any benefit to having this resentment? How can I replace this resentment with gratitude? It's a tough thing to do. Rigorous honesty with yourself. Some people like to share this, they like to get a little insight from someone who they really, really trust. And if that's something you want to do, I would suggest that you really carefully choose who that's going to be, because it needs to be someone who would never utter a word ever. Be somebody that maybe gives some feedback if you want it, and then it's erased from their memory. So, but it'll really help you get rid of some old junk. Trust me. All right, next chapter, next video we're going to do is on forgiveness. Even more fun, right? Practicing forgiveness. We're doing this resentment, and now we're going to practice forgiving. Sounds like so much fun. I know that's what you're thinking. You know what? It's not fun. Not fun at all. And anyone who tells you that dealing with a resentment is fun or practicing forgiveness, no, because there was shit that was involved that started all that. But the release from the practice of it is what we're going for. We're releasing ourselves from our very own prison. We've walled up. We got walls all around. We're the only ones that can destruct those walls. Might as well get started, right? How we do that? Think a better thought.